for our second quiz. I'll do 5 examples, and they're a variation of different problems we've done throughout the last few weeks. Our first example, we have 3 times the sum of 2x and 5 equals 39. In this problem, we're going to need to distribute the 3 to everything inside the parentheses, because this is 3 times 2x plus 5. So we have 3 times 2x, which is 6x, plus 3 times 5, which is 15, equals 39. Now we're left with a 2-step equation. We're going to subtract 15 from both sides of the equation. We're left with 6x equals 24. We divide by our coefficient 6. We have x equals 4. Our next problem is a little bit more involved because we have parentheses on both sides of the equation, and it looks like we're going to be distributing on both sides of the equation. So in this case, we're going to distribute this -7 to everything inside the parentheses. Now, it can be a little tricky because we have subtraction inside of the parentheses. So what I like to do before I get started is I change the subtraction to adding the opposite of the number that I was subtracting. So I add the opposite of that next number. Instead of subtracting 4m, I'm going to add -4m. I'm also going to do that over here. Instead of subtracting 3, I'm going to add -3. That just helps when we have a lot of subtraction signs and a lot of negative signs. Helps us to keep everything in order. All right, so I have -7 times 1, which is -7, plus -7 times -4m, which is positive 28m. And that equals our right side, which we're going to distribute 13. So 13 times 2m is 26m. And then we're going to distribute 13 to -3, which is -39. Our next step is to get all of our variables either on the left or right, and then we're going to put all of our non-variable numbers on the opposite side. So I think I'm going to bring all my variables to the left in this problem, and then leave all my numbers on the right-hand side. So in order to do that, I need to move my 26m to the left. So I'm going to subtract 26m from both sides of the equation. This cancels out. 28m minus 26m is 2m. That means I need to move my -7 to the right side of the equation. So I'm going to add 7 to cancel it from the left. I'll add 7 to put it on the right. -39 plus 7 is -32. And our last step is to divide by the coefficient 2. We have m equals -16. Okay, our third example is a lot more involved than the last two. And in fact, you can make some serious mistakes here because there are several subtraction signs and negative signs. If you don't change these to adding the opposite of the next number, in other words, if you don't change all of the subtraction signs to adding, 9 times out of 10, you're going to make a mistake. Or let's just say it's a lot easier to make a mistake. So when you see a problem that has a lot of subtraction, take the time at the beginning to change it. I'm just going to rewrite this whole problem. I have -5. I'm going to keep that the same because it's just -5. But notice that I'm subtracting this entire value here. I'm subtracting in parentheses with something inside of it. So I'm going to change this to plus the opposite of everything inside, which we'll do in just a second. Now I even have a -1 inside. I'm going to change that to plus -1. Instead of -1, I'm changing it to plus -1. On this side I have 2 times 7 minus 16, sorry, that should be 7y, minus 16, I'm going to change that to plus negative 16. And at the very end, I have minus y. I'm going to change that to plus negative y. Okay, now it's all addition. This way we can manipulate the numbers, we can move them around if we need to, a little bit more easily than we could with problems being a lot of subtraction problems. So for now, let's start on the left. I have negative 5 plus the opposite of everything inside here. So I'm going to keep negative 5 plus. Now I'm going to kind of distribute this opposite sign to everything inside. The opposite of 15y is negative 15y. The opposite of negative 1 is positive 1. Notice everything's addition. And now this 2, I am distributing this because it's 2 times this sum. So I'm doing 2 times 7y, which is 14y, plus 2 times negative 16, which is negative 32, plus negative y. Now we need to combine like terms. We need to look around and see what can we combine on the left, combine it all, what can we combine on the right, combine all that. So we have negative 5, negative 15y, and 1. We can combine these two. So we have negative 4 plus negative 15y. On this side, these are like terms, 14y and negative y. Combine those, we get 13y plus negative 32. We need to put all of our variables on either the right or left. This time I'm taking my variables to the right. You can choose either side. I'm going to the right. So I'm going to add positive 15y to both sides of the equation. Cancels out on the left. That gives me 28y. And now that means I need to move this negative 32 off of the right. I don't want it over here unless it's a variable. Move it over this way. So I add the opposite, which is 32, to both sides of the equation. Negative 4 plus 32 is 28. Divide by my coefficient 28. I get y equals 28 divided by 28, which is 1. Okay, the next problem. This problem is negative 3/4 equals m over 22. Now you can do this a few different ways, but if you want to look at this as solving a proportion, you can use cross products and multiply across the equal sign, meaning we're going to multiply numerator times denominator and denominator times numerator. Now it's a little tricky because it's negative 3/4. You have to choose. Are you going to put this negative with the 3 or with the 4? And it doesn't matter, but you can't put it with both. So I always take mine to the numerator. So I'm going to say negative 3 times 22 is negative 66. And then 4 times m is 4m. Divide by 4. We get negative 16.5 equals m. Okay, this is our last example. In this case, we have x plus 2 over 5 equals 2x minus 11 over 7. We can solve this type of problem by using cross products, which means we're going to multiply numerator times denominator, denominator times numerator. So when we do that, we're going to set the problem up this way. X plus 2 times 7 will look like that. 5 times 2x minus 11 looks like that. Now I told you on a previous problem I like to change all subtraction to adding the opposite of the next number. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to change this subtraction to plus negative 11. Might not be too tricky, but I just do it consistently. So now I have 7 times x and 7 times 2. I'm just distributing. I have 5 times 2x and 5 times negative 11, so I get 10x plus negative 55. all the variables either need to go to the right or to the left. In this case, I'm taking all my variables to the right, so I'm going to subtract the 7x from both sides. That leaves me with 3x on the right. Now I need to do something with this negative 55 on the right. So I'm going to add the opposite of that, which is 55. And on the left-hand side, I get 69. Now I'm going to divide by the coefficient 3. And I get x equals 23.